Most parents get very upset when they find out that their child is being teased at school, and it might even remind you of when you were in elementary school. And if you grew up in a family who told you that you shouldn't respond to being teased, it's probably even more distressing for you because you were never taught the skills of how to verbally stand up for yourself. But there's tons of different ways that you can help your child have a better experience if they're getting teased at school, at camp, or wherever. Number one, getting teased in elementary school is pretty much a given. So, owning a very large rural self-defense website, I have received thousands of emails from parents and children about getting teased or picked on at school. And I want you to know that every child gets picked on at some point in time. And it would be very unlikely that your child will make it all the way to grade 11 without getting teased. Very unlikely. So when your child expects, yeah, I'm going to get teased at some point, then when it happens, it isn't such a shock. Ask your child to come to you if they're getting teased and let them know that you'll help them come up with some ways to handle the situation. Number two, don't look at teasing with a victim mentality. So a lot of times teasing isn't personal. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times kids are just roaming the playground looking for someone to see who they can get a reaction out of. They're just looking for potential targets. So make sure that your child knows that they're not alone. Every child is going to go through getting teased at some point in time. And when we realize that it isn't personal, it's just something kids do, it's a little easier to process and to handle. A mother, who I will call Caitlin, was beside herself because her child was being bullied, when in fact it was just simple teasing on the playground. But she made it such a big deal. She made her son feel like a victim, and that he was a victim of bullying, when it was simple teasing. She could have made it not a big deal and taught him how to respond, and he would have been much better off.
This YouTube video is for educational and informational purposes only.
Number three, bullies are trying to trigger people. When bully sees a reactive kid, they're like, wow, perfect target. So the bully is looking for how your child responds to being teased. So tell your child not to overreact when someone is trying to trigger them. Let it roll off their back. Number four might surprise you. Allow banter and some fun teasing at home. And what do I mean by that? You can tell kids whose parents don't joke around or have any fun or tease at home, because when it happens to them at school, they're absolutely shocked and flabbergasted. And there's a blogger who I really, really respect, big blogger, and she demands absolute respect at home with her children. And I can see why she wants that, and I think it's an admirable task. But one of her rules is no teasing. And if the older kids tease, they're sent to bed with no dinner for the night, and it's to teach respect. Well, that's all fine, but her daughter is going to be a perfect target when she goes to school, because she's never been in a situation where there's teasing, and she's not going to know how to handle it compared to someone who's used to fun and banter at home. And in our house, we tease and we joke around all the time. It's not malicious. It's just in a fun way with wit and humor. And I've trained my kids that when somebody picks on them, it just bounces off their back, and to say something fun back, preferably with humor. And usually when you have quick wit or you have a really clever comeback or reply, it just sort of stops the bully in their tracks, because it's not what they're expecting. And they like to pick on people who are going to make them look foolish. So they don't want people who are quick with the replies, because that's not an easy target. That's a lot of hard work. So allow fun banter at home. Number five, understand that as kids get older and they become teenagers, they will razz and tease their friends. A teenager was telling me a funny story the other day, and he was saying that one of his friends, they could throw pine cones at him and he would still be standing. I'm like, what does that even mean? And he said that they just tease him so much and it just rolls off his back. He doesn't have a care in the world. And because of that, he doesn't get wound up even more. But that's a great way to handle it because your friend group who loves you will be teasing you and your child needs to be prepared for that. And one girl, I'll call her Jojo. So Jojo was the only child and she didn't experience that in her household. It was just her and her mom. And she had friends make a joke that she was dating this boy. And obviously he wouldn't have been her type. But they just kept teasing her and winding her up. And a normal person would have laughed it off and said, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, I just like him so much. Have said something silly. But she just started DMing everybody. Don't you say this about me. And how dare you embarrass me. And she had just really not developed muscle in the area where it comes to friends just joking around or having fun. And she didn't know how to respond and she didn't know how to handle the situation as a lot of people at her age group would have. Know that this comes down the pipeline with friend groups. So when your child is that age and the friend group is teasing and it's not malicious, expect it and understand it's just part of being a teenager. And this is very different from malicious, hateful speech. This is just joking around, okay? Number 6, set yourself up for success by teaching your children verbal self-defense. Now, I have to tell you, running a large verbal self-defense website, I didn't even realize that I would have to teach my children verbal self-defense in advance. One of my kids was getting picked on and it escalated because of a covert, highly manipulative bully. And if I had taught him some skills, we could have avoided a big part of the problem. Would it have happened? I can't say, right? What I did after the bullying is I taught my son techniques that I teach my students in verbal self-defense. And that's what to say, how to say it, and how to respond, and how to be prepared and shut down a bully in any situation. And I think it's one of the best things that parents can do because it is a given you're going to get picked on at some point in time. And it just brings unbelievable confidence. And, people like people who don't respond. So when your child knows what to say, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to get worse and escalate. And of course, there's always the exception. But I think it's the best investment parents can make to bully-proof their kids is teach them verbal self-defense. The other benefit of it is it's really quick. You can do it in an hour and a half with our system, and it's a skill that lasts a lifetime. A lot of people that buy my products are like middle-aged people who've never been taught this skill, and it leads to years of frustration. So learning it at a young age is such a blessing. You're doing your kid a huge, huge favor. Number 7, part of teasing is a mental confidence game. So you want your kids to show up with unbelievable confidence. And the way you bully proof is you prepare children for events. So you tell them they're going to be teased. You tell them how to handle it. And they just show up with confidence and they know what to expect when things happen at school. And they have a much better reaction than the kid who isn't prepared. If you need a little bit of help bully-proofing your child, I'll include a link to our free workshop below. But just know there are a lot of things that parents can do to help their kids and to help them have a much better experience.